My name is Karl-Walter Lindenlaub. I'm the cinematographer on Amrum. I hope you enjoy the movie.
Thank you so much for joining Five Questions with Kino Lorber. We're here to talk about Amrum, which you were the cinematographer on, but you actually also were the cinematographer on another film in the Kino Lorber library, Last of the Dogmen, which is available on Kino Film Collection. So, yeah, we can have some fun here. I can ask a question about that too, if you don't mind. But thank you so much for joining us. So I have five questions for you, and the first one is, what was it like shooting in such a picturesque and remote location like Amrum? And what is your process of working with the environment and landscape to inform your shots?
Shooting Amrum on the island Amrum and in the area around it, for me it was like coming home because I grew up in Hamburg and I spent all my summer vacations on one of these islands, and my high school had a home there where students could go for vacations and stuff. So I'm very attached to that landscape. It's very flat, endless horizon, endless sky and clouds, and lots of weather changes because it's right exposed to the Atlantic Ocean. Shooting in that environment is very difficult. You have to be quick, and we found out that shooting in the evening hours at magic hour was the best time when the wind died down a little bit and gave us the most beautiful images, really.
I mean, it is very stunning. It's very, very beautiful. I'm curious, sorry, a follow-up question to that question, but how much do you storyboard beforehand, or do you kind of just go into it on the day and say, wow, the tide is at this level, we should shoot this for, how does that work?
Well, we did storyboard the more complicated scenes that had action in it with the boy, because we had to be very precise. Children in Germany, our lead actor was 12 years old. They're only allowed to work 4 hours in front of the camera, so you really need to be prepared and be ready and to get everything, the tide, the light,
Yeah.
and the actor at the right time of day onto the beach, for example, and shoot was tricky. The crew had to really help out everybody. We had to constantly shift things around because the water is faster than you can shoot, really.
Wow, I didn't know that they had such a limit. That's I think more strict than SAG rules. It seems like, or actually, I don't know how SAG treats children actors, but yeah, that is tricky. Well,
Yeah.
some of the my favorite scenes in the movie were the nighttime beach scenes, which were absolutely gorgeous, under the moonlight. I'm very curious how you shot those, and also, what are the most challenging and rewarding types of shots you like to light?
Well, Amrum uh, didn't have a huge budget, so we certainly couldn't light the whole beach or big landscapes at night, especially on that island where everything is also under protection because it's a big birding nature paradise. Uh, so the only solution really was to shoot day for night, which means you shoot sunlight for moonlight. In essence, it's actually not that different, because the moonlight is reflected sunlight. It's what we get on Earth as moonlight is what comes back from the sun hitting the moon and then lighting the Earth. So shooting sunlight for day for night means you just underexpose a little bit and then in post-production bring the sky way down. And then in our case, it was a long master shot when the boy goes in the water and then finds the dead British soldier on the beach. We made the sky really dark, put stars in post-production, little stars into the sky, and then replaced the sun that was in the shot with the moon. So that means all the shadows and all the reflections in the water line up exactly with the source. That makes it believable.
Wow, that's fascinating. You made it look so believable and it's just gorgeous how shimmering it is. I would have
Right.
never guessed that. That's really fascinating.
Yes.
Um,
So in a way, it's a very low-tech method that relies heavily on post-production color
Very
timing. And then
interesting.
you need a director who's willing to really go with it and shoot the light the way it needs to be. You don't want to turn this around and shoot in total front light. It wouldn't work. It wouldn't look right.
Gotcha. Well, you were also the cinematographer on Last of the Dogmen from 1995, which is another film in our collection, and it also features sweeping landscapes and, very breathtaking wide compositions. Looking back, how much has your visual approach evolved over the last 30 years, working in these expansive natural environments or just in general?
It's hard to think back. I mean, that's 30 years.
I know.
Last of the Doberman was a complicated film. You know, we had horses, we had Indians that hadn't worked in front of the camera. Uh, the production shot, unfortunately, a bunch of big sequences in Mexico for financial reasons, and the landscape there wasn't really that great. It was very dry and some middle of the summer, so it was tricky to make it look right for the paradise village where the Indians live. And we had to bring the Cherokee Indians to Mexico, which was a big deal. But yes, I mean, you try and make the nature and the light your friend. You can't fight sunlight. You know, it's too big of a source. You have to be at places at the right time of day, and backlight is obviously something that works better than front light, especially in day exterior scenes. It makes things look more gentle. And you need to have a crew that goes with you up the mountains and into these remote locations. And sometimes that means schlepping a lot of equipment up the hill and building things, cranes on hillsides and stuff.
Were you mostly relying on natural light for that shoot, or were you able to fill in with some artificial light?
We had to fill in those days. First of all, it's film, and film in those days had less latitude, you know, couldn't see all the varieties in light that we can see now with these digital cameras. And there were moments where the sun was not at the right place, and then I had to make the sun, you know, so you did need light and have generators and cables and stuff we couldn't do on Amrum.
Yeah. Well, you've built a career across a very wide spectrum of cinema. You've done everything from large-scale action films like Universal Soldier, Independence Day, to these more intimate poetic works like Amrum. How do you navigate that shift in scale and tone? I mean, do you have fundamental principles or creative tools that remain constant in your approach, regardless of genre or budget?
I think at the end, a cinematographer always has to help the director to tell his story and make the actors feel comfortable, and that applies to any budget. You know, on bigger budget films, you just have a much bigger crew to deal with and a lot more logistical and technical problems that need to be solved. But you get a lot of support as well. And then on big films, you have to keep shooting no matter what. You know, on a smaller film, you might say, "Okay, I can't fight this," and you just have to wait for the right moment. On big movies, there's so much coverage, there's so many cameras going, you have to keep shooting all day long, and that means you have to sometimes take the sun completely away and make your own sun, you know, just to keep continuity. So it gets a little more complicated. I like both, you know. At the end, I like when I can really dive into a whole new world, you know. That's the beauty of filmmaking. It's a wonderful job when it works.
Well, that actually segues nicely into my last question, which is, do you have a particular genre you like working on the most, or a particular film that you enjoyed working on most?
Well, personally, I like actors-driven stories. I would love to shoot more film noir stuff because I read that genre to take my mind away. But so far, that hasn't happened a lot. Yes, and I do like movies where I get to experience a whole new environment and a whole new world, which is, you know, often period movies that give you that chance, where you do stuff that you don't experience in everyday life.
What is it about film noir that excites you? Is it the shadows, the use of
Yes, sure.
artistic use of shadows?
Cinematographers like darkness and distinct darkness. And, you know, there's a whole language of film noir that goes back to the 1920s and even before that to silent movies of the German Expressionism. So there's a whole world to explore visually, sure. And to transpose that into a modern world is interesting, you know.